Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining me in this session. So today's topic is Windows Server 2008 R2 and AD RMS FCI better together. So in this session, we are going to talk about what's there we have in Windows Server 2008 R2 for file management in your server, and also we are going to see that how your AD RMS, that is your rights management services, is going to help us managing your whole lot of files in your organization. Now, before starting off, let me just have a quick poll and then we will continue with our session. Meanwhile, we'll see if anyone is still joining for this session. So let me have a quick poll. How many of you attended previous ADRMS and Exchange 2010 sessions? Or let me just check. All right. So the poll is set. Let me get an answer from you meanwhile. Oh well, not many of you have attended this previous session. So in this last session, we had talked about how we can use our Active Directory rights management services and how can we integrate it with our Exchange 2010 scenario for managing your mails or protecting them automatically in case you are sending the mails directly to your team or to your peers without the knowledge of getting it encrypted. So not an issue. We will start with this session. So I'm going to cover some of the briefs of how will we configure ADRMS and how it can be synced with FCI. So before starting, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Aviraj Asgekar. I am working with Microsoft India as a regional site manager. Here is my blog address, blogs.technet.com/Aviraj, where I put my thoughts, my new tryouts in a technology. In day-to-day basis, I'm responsible for handling the IT infrastructure of Microsoft India's West region. And the topic today that says 2008 R2 enhancement with file classification infrastructure. Now we have talked a lot for Windows Server 2008 R2, but this is something that we had not talked a lot since the launch of Windows 2008 R2, that is your file classification infrastructure. So today's agenda goes like this way. First of all, we will talk about Microsoft's business ready solution scenario. In that, we will specifically covering this particular subsection or tier, we can say, that is information protection solution. Then we will talk about the brief about the Active Directory rights management services history, that how it evolved and how it's being better and better in our current scenario or in the current operating systems, and how you or your customers can leverage a lot from Windows Server 2008 R2 perspective. Then we will talk about the file classification infrastructure. Now, file services role has been there since long, but this is something which has been newly added in Windows Server 2008 R2. This was not included in Windows Server 2008. So, file classification infrastructure is a new feature, something new that is available in Windows Server 2008 R2. And then we're going to talk about the better together part, that is how we can use FCI and ADRMS bulk protection tool for leveraging the security part of Windows 2008 R2. Now, as we said, ADRMS bulk protection tool is a tool which is available from Microsoft that you can use for encrypting your or IRM protecting your documents at the same time. So if you have, let's say, a bunch of documents in a folder, and if you want to encrypt them in one shot, then you can use this ADRMS bulk protection tool. So in this session, we are going to see few key demos. The first demo will be for the ADRMS bulk protection tool, how we can use this tool for protecting your multiple documents in a single folder. Then we are going to see how can we configure the file classification infrastructure role, that is a part of a file services role, and how can we configure it efficiently with the properties or with the rules, and then we can configure the different tasks that can be applied on this particular file shares in our organization. And lastly, we will see how can we leverage the better together part, wherein how FCI and ADRMS can jointly help you secure your data efficiently in your day-to-day business. So before going on, let me just have another quick poll. Now I'll be having few polls in my session, so feel free to reply back. That gives me an idea that whether you're okay with the agenda or you're okay with the demos that I'm proposing, because we have 1 hour time and we can try to cover as much as possible for me to show you about this ADRMS. Thanks a lot. We have everybody who is happy with the agenda, so we will move forward. So, business status security. Now, this slide generally talks about the idea that how we are using the security and which are the key parts of the security. So, first, the identity part, which is in the center, that talks about the employees in your organization or those who are working in your organization directly, or they might be working remotely or on day-to-day basis. So, everybody now has a computer, mobile phones. So, and many of us have a habit of keeping the data in every possible storage devices that we have. So the key factors: the protect everywhere, access anywhere. Second is integrate and extend the security across enterprises, and the third is simplify the security experience, manage and compliance. Now, when we talk about the protection everywhere, access anywhere, that's what I was talking to you about. Now, everybody has got a mobile phone, everybody has got a laptop or a desktop in an organization. Now, it happens that everybody is working from different areas. It's not the case in today's environment that we have everybody, 100% people come in the same office and they work in the same place. You may be having your customers or the clients located in the different areas of the world. So, depending upon how much large your organization, whether it's a huge enterprise or let's say it's a small or medium scale business, the moment let's say you have multiple branches going on or you have multiple clients, you are spanning across the globe in general. And by the time frame, the particular part, which is the security, is very much essential. So the concept that says that if you are using a laptop or the mobile phone or any device, you are protected every time. So whether you are in an office, in a corporate network, you are protected. That's but obvious. But if you go out, the concept says you are still protected. Even if you are out of the corporate boundary, you are protected everywhere. And on top of it, it's not that you're just limited that you have data which is protected. You are also having access anywhere option. That means even if you're outside of your corporate network, you are anywhere in the world, you can still access your corporate resources just like you use it by sitting in a corporate environment. So that's one point. Secondly, the management part, that is integrate and extend security across enterprises. Now, it happens that we are trying to control the things, we are trying to make the things secure, but if let's say out of your different branches or the organizations, if only one of the divisions or one of the branches gets the proper security and the rest of them are not able to achieve that level of security, then it doesn't make sense. You should be having that ability to scale that particular technology to the limits, to your complete organization, so that everybody in your org can leverage it up to the limit. And the last is to simplify the security experience, manage compliance. Now, this again talks to you about the same, which is now connected to these 2 points, which is the protect anywhere and the integrate and extend security. If you are planning to apply the security, or if you are trying to provide you the data protection to your data, to your systems or your devices, we make sure that the process of getting these devices secure should be seamless. You don't have to apply too much efforts, or you don't have to do too much of study or math to get it done. You just get it, you just be online and you should be secure. So this should be the environment wherein you're just part of a network and you're secure directly. So this is an approach that talks about how we can simply manage our environment. So from block to enable, from cost to value, and from silo to seamless is the point that this particular slide talks to you about. Now the next part is information protection. Again, the same points we just talked. And if you see that the small base, if you see over here, this is the family of products that we are offering from Microsoft to achieve this particular 3 P's or the 3 goals, that is protect everywhere, access anywhere, integrate and extend, and simplify and manage. So which has been all powered by our Windows Server 2008 R2, which is again having different roles. Now in that we have some roles such as one of them that we talked sometime back, which is your rights management services, which is used for information rights management. You are protecting your document, encrypting them, so only those who are having an access, or for those it is encrypted, they can use that. Not everybody can access or read or extract the data from them. Another role which is a part of Windows Server 2008 is federation services. Now, if we want to extend our enterprise, now this particular part or this particular feature covers the second pillar, which is your integrate and extend security. So if you want to extend your security, or if you want to, let's say, provide the same kind of similar experience of sharing the encrypted data or secure data with different in between organizations, then we are going to use the federation services, wherein you can create and configure the environment so that your different organizations can seamlessly exchange the mails, which are again encrypted and securely written. And again, the same story goes on for your Windows 7, Exchange 2010 and SharePoint. This can be seamlessly integrated with your Windows Server 2008 R2. And excuse me. And then we have Forefront Suite. In that, we just recently launched the Unified Access Gateway, which is going to provide you the seamless access to your corporate environment. Now, this particular product has been going to give you the complete remote access even if you are away from your corporate network. Now, this will take care of the complete management or the patching of your system in case you are away. So that's complete suite of security products. Now let's talk about something about the rights management services, because today's topic is rights management services and the file classification infrastructure. So before moving on to my next first demo, first let's talk something about your rights management services. Now, rights management services, in this particular slide, we are talking about Windows Server 2003 era, where we had some feature, AD RMS trust, trusted user domain. Again, we had Windows Live ID, which is still you can use as an option. Then at the client end, we had XPN 2003 server, and the solutions which we were using, that is rights management add-in for browsers. Now, over the time, if you're familiar, even if let's say you're using the previous versions of Exchange, that is Exchange 2003 or 2007, if you are using the rights protection, you still need to have the rights management add-in for your Internet Explorer or for your browser in order to read those mails. You cannot read the encrypted mails out of the box. Now, in this release of Exchange 2010, that we had seen last time, that you can read these rights protected mail or IRM protected mail out of the box directly from the browser. So it could be your Internet Explorer, it could be your Firefox, it could be Safari, it could be any platform. You directly access the mail. Let's say your Outlook web app, and you can see the data. Then with the Windows Server 2008, now Windows Server 2008 was a drastic change from Windows Server 2003. We had a lot of different options. We had worked a lot with the roles, and we had expanded the complete family, and we had improved the way we expecting the server should behave. We introduced server core. We had provided few roles on the server core environment for the remote offices, the branch offices, and some of the announcements in this, as we had, is the RMS server role version 2.0. Then we had the RMS Trust. At the client end, we had Windows Vista and Windows Server 2008. And again, we had these Microsoft solutions that goes beyond your traditional desktop, and now it reaches to your mobile phones. So it was completely integrating with your mobile. If you are syncing your mail with Exchange, and if you want to access your data, which is encrypted data or the IRM protected mails directly on the phone, all you have to do is just sync your phone directly to a computer, import the certificate, and you're good to go. You can access your mails directly on the Windows mobile phone, just like that you are seeing on your desktop, on a laptop, or on the go. So that's one improvement. Again, we had the same RMS IRM protection for the XPS viewer. Then that's been expanded for your SharePoint and Exchange type of the environment. And in this version 2008 R2, in Windows Server 2008 R2, we had now the AD RMS server role version 3.0, publishing or group support. On the client end, we have Windows 7, which is now leveraging a lot more features from Windows Server 2008 R2. And again, we can have Windows Server 2000 R2 as the client, depending upon if you're using that as a client environment. Now, one of the major changes in this release of the operating system, that is Windows 7 and Windows Server 2000 and R2, is the ability to manage your complete platform by PowerShell. If you're talking about the server core, if you're talking about the Windows Server 2000 and R2, you will see that the way we manage our environment is not just limited by these standard MMC consoles. Now, if you talk about the server core, there is no MMC console because there is no graphical user interface. In 2000 R2 server core, we introduced the support for .NET. So you even have PowerShell. So your PowerShell now controls every aspect of your server, whether it could be your Active Directory, whether it could be your IIS, or it could be your even Hyper-V. You can manage all the server roles which are there, or you can manage your complete server from the PowerShell. It's Exchange, it's System Center. All the products now rely on the PowerShell because the way it handles and the way it manages the scripting capability for making the task much more easier. Now, again, we're talking about the client server part. When we talk about the Microsoft solution that you're seeing, the Exchange 2010 is now enhanced, and as I said sometime back, you don't require the rights management add-in for Internet Explorer if you are accessing your mails directly in, let's say, your web browser. It could be IE or it could be Safari or Firefox. This is because of the Exchange 2010, the new architecture, and how it handles the IRM protected mail. And now we have a tool called as AD RMS bulk protection. Now this particular tool is going to help us for encrypting your multiple types of files or the documents in one shot. So let's say if you're having around 10-15 documents in one folder, and if you just want to encrypt them, you can just use this tool out of the box with its /encrypt option, and you can directly go ahead and encrypt the devices to the particular document file formats. You don't have to worry about how can I do it manually. It can be worked with your PowerShell scripting to encrypt your complete data. It can be using with your FCI that we are going to see. So in this session, we will also see a demo of how we can use the same tool with the help of the PowerShell. So the supported file formats, for that you require something called as the information rights management protectors. Now these information rights management protectors control the conversion of documents to their encrypted rights managed format and the decryption of the documents from their rights managed format back to the original format. The AD RMS bulk protection tool installs two out-of-the-box IRM protectors. Now these two protectors are the MSO IRM protector and the OPC IRM protectors. Now the first one, which is your MSO IRM protector, which will help you encrypt the certain file formats like your doc file format, your XLS, your typical Office 2003 type of documents, and your OPC IRM protector, which is out of the box installed, which encrypts your typical docx, PPTX, XLS, XLXX file format, and so on and so forth. So that is about something that is available in your AD RMS bulk protection tool. And again, if you see the partner solution, we have partner solutions which are providing solutions based upon the AD RMS. One of them is your Foxit. Now Foxit is providing your Foxit Security Suite 1.0, which is now completely leveraging your AD RMS features that can be used for encrypting your PDF document and setting up the permission manually depending upon your organization. Moving forward, so now let's talk about, so this is a stack that we're talking about, how we can integrate it with FCI. Now I think I forgot to talk to you about something like FCI integration. Now file classification infrastructure we will talk in detail, and how it can be leveraged with the help of the AD RMS that we will see in the further demos. Now let's first talk about the AD RMS bulk protection tool. Now the bulk protection, which is your e-discovery of a content for litigation or audit purpose. Now this bulk decryption, the bulk encryption now safeguarding the existing sensitive information, and again this helps you classifying and protecting sensitive information with the FCI. Now you can use the FCI for running the single rule and encrypting your complete folder or the user share. You can create rules based upon this rule. For example, let's say if I have set up a rule in that if I find that I have, let's say, around 100 documents in a particular folder or 1000 documents, I'll create a simple rule saying that I'll create a rule that now scan this particular folder Now I've created few properties and few rules, which is like high business impact, low business impact, depending upon the sensitivity of the document. And then I will apply the rule that if run this rule, if you find that if any document contains such words like intellectual property, secret, source code, apply this particular RMS template, which could be only for the employees or it could be only for the certain division in your organization. And that's it. It will take care the rest of the part on its own, and also it provides you the scheduling option. So that we'll talk in the next demos. So first is feature details for the AD/RMS bulk protection tool. Now, simple command line interface. This particular tool is available as the command line tool. You don't have the graphical user interface for managing this particular tool. So we have this executable called as rmsbulk.exe / you can use the switches like encrypt and decrypt. So bulk decrypts Microsoft Office files and items within Outlook PST. So let's say if you have the Outlook PST offline storage file or the personal storage table, and if you have any files which are encrypted with the certain RMS templates, and if you want to decrypt them directly, you just run this particular RMS bulk utility, that is your AD/RMS bulk protection tool, and it will encrypt everything within that PST file on its own. So provided that you have installed Outlook 2007, which is a requirement for that. Now bulk encrypts Microsoft Office files to an RMS template. You can also use this tool for encrypting your multiple documents in a single folder for by selecting a proper template. Now we will see that in demo in the next few minutes. Extensible to support other file formats via the IRM protectors. Now, as I told you, in order to protect or in order to encrypt your document, you need to have the certain IRM protectors. Now, out of the box, we have just two protectors that I talked to you about, and which can be used to encrypt your Office documents. So it could be Office 2003 documents, or it could be your Office 2007, or it could be your Office 2010 documents. Now that in one slide I talked to you about that there are partners who are working extensively for AD/RMS integration with their products for the security suites. One of the examples I said is Foxit Security Suite 1.0, which now supports the ability to integrate with AD/RMS, and it is providing its own IRM protector so that we can encrypt the PDF files out of the box. So here is the AD/RMS bulk protection tool command line example. This is the format. If you want to decrypt it, we will use RMS bulk / decrypt. Then we select the share folder that we want to decrypt, which contains the encrypted files. Space / log and the log location. Again, for encryption is the similar way. The only difference is that when we are actually using the encryption option, we will be using rmsbulk.exe/encrypt. Now, after this particular document folder, we will be selecting a particular template, which is the XML file that in which we have shared the templates, and then we can select the log file to get the exact details. So, AD/RMS bulk protection tool, some of the system requirements. Now, this tool is available as a freely available on Microsoft.com/downloads. You can download this particular tool for your XP. Now, there are some requirements like your .NET Framework 2.0 and RMS Client 1.0 SP2. It runs natively on Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows Server 2008 R2. And it requires Outlook 2007 in case you are using the PST for decryption. I mean, if any folder contains the PST files which has the encrypted mails, and if you want to decrypt them, you need to have the Outlook installed in that particular machine. So you can download this tool from this particular website. I will share the resources in the end, or you can see my blog post for complete briefing about this particular topic, this webcast that we have today. So let's start off with our first demonstration. Let me just share my desktop with you all. All right, this is, I hope that my desktop is visible. I have a standard resolution 1024 by 768, so I don't think there should be any challenge for you all to access or see. So here are, I'm having the two machines. Now this is my first machine, which is my, if you will see, this is Enlightened, this is my domain controller. And if I just click on this other machine. This is my client machine. You will see it enlightened over here. And first demo we will going to see is the RMS bulk utility. Now, if you see, this is the RMS bulk utility, AD-RMS bulk protection tool that I've downloaded, which is of around 736 KB. By default, it gets installed in your program files, AD-RMS bulk protection tool, and you have some nice CHM file to read on some information. And what we can do, let's say I have on my C drive a folder which says bulk demo, and I have two folders, protected and unprotected. I have few files over here which are not protected by default. So this is my demo file, which is not having any rights as of now. So secondly, I'm having one presentation which is it says it's a confidential presentation, but as of now there is nothing into it. So what I'll require first of all to get this thing going is, first of all, I'll just show you the server side what I'll require. First of all, I need to have my AD-RMS service on. So for Active Directory Rights Management Services, it is available as a particular role. So if you will see that in my role, I have installed this particular role as Active Directory Rights Management Services. Now, those who are not familiar with the AD-RMS, first of all, you need to install the AD-RMS. Then you have to, this is your domain controller, that is your DC01. Now, in that, you have to configure the certain options over here. Now, first of all, when you configure, you will select this particular licensing or the certification URL that can be selected during your installation. Then you require something called as the service account for managing your complete RMS. Then if you just right click on my AD-RMS server, you'll see that I have option to change my service account. That we won't change now. If I go to my DC01, which is my domain controller properties, I will be seeing the properties. Okay, it's loading. So in this particular properties, what I'll be having certain details like my cluster URLs. Now this is my URL where I'm having my licensing and certificates located that my clients will try to access. This will have my AD-RMS server certificate which is required, logging I have enabled, and this is something important, that is your service connection point. Now when you first time install AD-RMS role in your any of the servers, you need to have this particular location, or you need to select the change SCP and you have to point it to this particular SCP, which is your service connection point, in order your other clients to access the certificates. And once you have done that, the next option is you have to create the blank policies, or let's say the policies for your employees. Now for that I will have to click on write policy template. Now there are a few requirements for AD-RMS as well. First of all, in the security policies, you also need to have one super user group, that will be administration for super users. So this member of this super user groups are granted owner use license when they request use license from the AD-RMS cluster. So this is one of the prerequisites for configuring this particular AD-RMS server. So what you have to do basically, first you have to install the AD-RMS server role. By that time frame, you will configure your licensing URL. Secondly, you will have to go to properties and you have to select that SCP option that we did over here. Next, you have to go to this particular folder wherein you have your certificate, and in the certification you have to right click and go to properties for the server certification and provide the grant this particular RMS SU super user group as the rights for read, write and execute. In case you want to synchronize your exchange, if you want to provide this RMS protection to exchange, you need to add these exchange server groups over here, and you have to provide them read, execute and read option. And other than that, the last option, you have to create a super user group which will have access to manage your entire AD-RMS service particular build feature. So these are the three key requirements for configuring your RMS server. Once your RMS is set, the next option is you will create the RMS templates. Now by default, the default template is created, which is do not forward. Now other than that, if I want to create, let's say, additional templates, what I will do, I will go to my rights templates and I'll say create a distributed rights policy template. Now I have already created two templates. Then I'll create one more template, let's say Contoso IT. So this will be used for Contoso IT employees only. Then what I can do, I can select that the particular for which users I want to enforce this particular template. So I will say that let's make it for Contoso IT group. So let me see if I have Contoso IT group. I'm not sure. Okay, I've already renamed this particular group. So if I had, let's assume that I'll create the same thing for this Contoso FT group, which is let's say my IT. For this group, I will apply this particular policy, and what I will say that apply the particular rights like view, save. Then I don't want to give them print options. I don't select that. I'll say forward, reply all. You can also create a custom rights depending upon your requirement. If you want, you can grant a owner, the author, the full control, the person who will initiate the mail. And I'll say next. I'll leave the settings default. And I'll say finish. So this now creates a new template for me. Now if I just try to see, let me see if I can I'm not sure if my mail server is off. So once I create that, I need to also go to the properties of this rights policy template to export them, because once I create this particular file, they need to be shared with my clients. My clients also need to access them. So I'll create a new folder, which is a shared folder on my C drive, okay, which is over here, RMS template. And you will see that I have shared this and I have given rights. So what I have done actually, for this particular folder, I have given some security rights to my ADRMS service account so that it can export and copy those templates in my RMS template which I've just newly created. Now the next option is, I have done this thing. Now the next stop is, now I need to use this bulk RMS tool. Now this was just an introduction. I want to show you how we can configure your AD RMS role in your Windows Server. Now we will go back to our client machine, and here I will see that I have already installed it. I have already downloaded those templates. So first time if you get this template deployed in your client, this can be done by the task scheduler. If you go to the task scheduler, you have option to enable the particular AD RMS service through which you can actually get these templates in your client. So they are actually located in App Data Local, Microsoft, DRM, and here are your templates over here. Now I have not yet got these latest template. I have these two templates created. When my next synchronization will happen with my task scheduler, I will get the template up and running over here. So now again go back to over here. I have these two folders, which is the protected and the unprotected. Now if you open any unprotected document, that you already seen that it is not provided with anything. Now in order to use the bulk protection tool, which is the RMS bulk, I will go to first my command prompt. So just close this. And what I will do, I will use this particular syntax, which is this. So I hope you all can see this. This particular syntax, let me expand it. So the syntax says that RMS bulk.exe encrypt from this particular, encrypt the data from this folder which is unprotected, that is unencrypted. Use this particular template on this particular share, which is my domain controller. RMS template. You will see it over here. And then use the log file to share the log on the same folder. So I'm going to copy this and I'll paste it. Now I have installed the AD RMS bulk protection tool, and it is located in this particular folder, programs x86 AD RMS bulk protection tool. I'll right click and say paste, and I'll hit enter. So it will take some time. It will just scan my complete folder. It will see the documents in this particular folder, and then it is going to apply the appropriate policy on this particular file. So as you see that the prerequisite is completed, my scanning is completed, 5 files detected, it will scan them and process them. Now you'll see that I have also had one file over here, which is ADRMS bulk protection tool.chm file. Now the CHM file is not supported because we don't have the IRM protector. It is going to scan and is going to encrypt only those particular files which are supported by the, for the files for which we have this IRM protector installed. Like I said, for docx files, xlx files, pptx files, we already have it. Even if, let's say, we have the doc file, we have the xls file, it is going to encrypt it. Now that I have not installed the IRM protector for PDF, so it is not going to install that. But yes, if I would have installed it, it is going to encrypt my PDF as well. And since if I have Outlook, if I have PST, it can also encrypt my PST data in the PST, the documents. So if you see that it has now successfully completed the encryption for this particular documents with the, I have selected this particular RMS template, which is like contours of all, that is for all employees, read-write access. And if I just go to my same folder, again, you will see the size of the document has been increased. They have now applied these RMS templates policies in them, the properties. Now the best part is that in your organization, even if you carry these files anywhere, the properties which are related to the particular templates are inherited into the document directly. So you can directly open the documents anywhere in your organization. You don't have to carry additional files. So all the properties were now incorporated directly into this particular file. So if I just double click on my file, see if it really worked. Let me just see Excel as well. Meanwhile, we'll see that we also have the log created over here. So the log gives you the complete idea of how it was, whether it went well or if there are any errors. If there are any errors over here, you can see that. That can be used for your further discussion. So with this particular tool, you can actually select the folders that you want to encrypt, and it just goes, drill down, and scans the complete folder and encrypts them directly. Now I have another folder over here which is similar, wherein I have the similar files but which are already encrypted. This is not actually encrypted, so I can just delete it, but I just kept it for the demo purpose. This is of the same size over here. These three files, however, are the encrypted files. So meanwhile, this file is open. Let's just check the four files over here. Now these are again the encrypted files, and what we will do once we are confirm that whether it is now applied this particular templates onto this file, we will then go back to again command prompt, and then we will use this second executable option, which is our decryption option. So in this case, now we will decrypt the files which are already encrypted by this particular templates. Now the difference, if you'll see in this particular command line tool, is when you're actually encrypting the file, you need to provide the source wherein your files or the folder that you want to encrypt or decrypt. You will have to select the particular template because you are encrypting, and then you have to provide the log option. But while if you are decrypting the file, you don't have to provide the particular RMS templates. You just have to provide the folder and the decrypt switch. That's the requirement for that. Alright, now it is said that the permission to this presentation is currently restricted. I'll say OK. Meanwhile, let's see the status of the word. It is again saying the same thing, that, and you will see that I have now opened the document, and I have this particular description which I have set over here, that controls all for employees, view, edit, and reply only. Over here you will see that controls all for employees, and if you just see that this particular description is customizable. So if I just go to my main server, and if I just see my RMS templates over here, sorry, if I just right click and say properties, you will see that I can actually edit this particular description. So this is based upon what I have described it. I can say that this is for employees, confidential, do not talk or discuss, something like that. I can do that. I can update it. And next time if I do that, I'll get the similar sort of description over there. So that's how we can actually encrypt multiple documents at the same time. If you just click on the permissions, you will see that you are currently authenticated to view this presentation as a whole, and you have this particular rights: view, edit. You cannot copy, you cannot print, and you don't have full control. Same way goes for the documents. And now if you just see that in the protected documents, I have the same documents over here which are again protected. And what we will do now this time, we will use the same decrypt option to remove the particular protection on them. So I'll use this particular file again, RMS bulk slash decrypt, the bulk demo slash protected, where I have the protected files and the log files to be shared. So I'll just close this meanwhile. I'll go to command prompt, just clear screen, paste and enter. So this is going to see my files in that particular folder. This is then check whether the particular template, okay, something, alright, close. So again you see that for CHM file it is not supported, so I got this particular message that this particular file is not supported. Again the same requirement, you need to have the IRM protected for this. And once it actually checks the complete file, you will see that in the same folder I will have these files without any protection. So meanwhile it happens, let's go back and see our AD RMS server over here. What else we can do over here? So apart from that, we have the trust policies options, we have trusted user domains wherein you have the certificate, you have the trusted published domain options in your AD RMS. If you want, you can select the exclusion policies for the users application, so you can prevent specific users from not obtaining use license by adding the user stats account. So similar type of configuration you can do over here. Now mostly the one factor which is very much that you should remember since you're talking about AD RMS is this particular folder and this particular file. Most of the times that because of this particular option, you have not added the computer account or you have not added the particular RMS supervisor account, you will often get into trouble of your clients will give you a message that you're not unable to authenticate with the RMS server. So that's one caution to remember. Let's see and continue with the demo. Alright, so it is now finished and it is now successfully succeeded. And if I see the size over here, the size has been gone a little down. So if I just open this particular document, okay, no, yes, and I can open it. Same way, let me just try opening this presentation, and I don't have any of the protection related options over here. So this is the particular feature that talks about the AD RMS bulk protection tool. So that was my demo on AD RMS. Next up, we will move on to our next demonstration. So meanwhile, I continue with this. Let me just have a quick poll that did you enjoy this particular feature? Let me give you an idea that whether you like the feature, whether you like the complete RMS configuration that we just talked or just shown you, that how you can start up with your AD RMS server and how we can use this particular AD RMS bulk protection tool for going ahead and encrypting documents into your particular environment. Now in this you have seen that I have been using my Windows 7 client for doing that. I don't require to have a dedicated server. Just as a client side, if I have the RMS bulk utility, I can just go ahead and encrypt my particular data. So thank you all for your feedback. I guess most of them have liked the feature. We will now continue with our next presentation, that is on FCI part. So file classification infrastructure. So this is something new that we have been actually following up since a long time now. Every day in your organization or in your company, whether it's a smaller you will see that there are so many challenges with respect to how much data we have. Every year you will see that the year-on-year growth of the data is more than 50%. You will see a lot of data, and year-on-year the spending for the storage is almost like 30% plus. Let's assuming that we are getting the storage prices somewhat lesser than what we used to have some time back. The storage is cheap, and the reason for that is the market, how we are dealing with it, the innovation, the technology growth. But what the serious cause or what the serious issue over here that occurs is that when you are actually talking about the lot of data or a lot of files, a lot of storage, there comes a lot of management part. So increasing data management needs for many data management products. So again, there are things when you actually have a lot of data, there is again a point that come in, like the security of the data, the compliance part, the ability to handle the confidential data, the ability to communicate with the peers. So that's one of the challenges. So that is one issue that is when we talk about the cost and risk with respect to the customer challenges. So typical example, let's say a file shares and a business requirement need per project share for IT, let's say for business secret, you don't want to leak out, you need to back up files with personal information to encrypted store, expire low business impact files created 3 years. So that's what we can do with the help of this available feature in file classification infrastructure. So what actually we are doing with the file classification infrastructure, we are actually making the data which is there in your system or in your organization, and we are making some rules. We are creating the properties. We are creating the rules and properties through which we can actually classify the data. Now, if you try to manually classify the data, it's going to take a lot of time. So what we are going to do, we are going to use the classification rules through which we can actually see that my data is, let's say, 100 days old, or let's say it's 365 days old or 1 year old. Then what I need to do it, I can move the data to a particular store or a particular folder wherein that can be taken care by the administrator. Now that time frame, you will see that the main users will panic that what happened to my data. So admin can depend proactively or depending on reactively, he can share that particular data again to the users. But the ability of managing the whole lot of data by just one single rule is much more efficient. So one rule in the sense, one rule in this example, we can create multiple rules depending upon the severity of the data. So first what we do, manage data based upon the business value. So generally in your environment you will have something like high business impact, low business impact, medium business impact, depending upon how you configure, how you count it, the data or the criticality of the data or the sensitivity. So step one is actually classify the data. You classify the data depending upon your needs, and then you apply the policy according to the classification. So in this file classification, first we take the data, first we see what we have. Then we actually create the properties, let's say for high business impact, for low business impact, and depending on the business impact, then we create the rules. And once we have created the rules, we can just directly apply those rules on the server, and for those particular locations or for those particular shares, we can actually scan them. Now this particular scanning will take place depending upon the folder wise, or it could be the content wise. So for example, tomorrow if I say that I want to scan my 1,000, 2,000 or 10,000 documents which are, let's say, lying in my system, but I don't know which of them are important, which of them are not important. So what I'll be doing, I'll be using some string value, let's say like intellectual property, or let's say source code, or let's say internal only. That will actually drill down my complete file. That is, see my drill down, it will see complete structure of my file, see whether that string is there. If it finds certain strings written in that particular document, it will mark those particular documents as a high business impact if I create a rule as in HBI. So what it will do, it will make that particular document high business impact, and then it may, depending upon your rule, it may move the other data on the other location. You can also perform the RMS encryption. So that's what we were talking about, the FCI plus RMS. So better together. So you can create a rule saying that if I have some data which is, let's say, or we call it a file management task in this that we'll see in a demo. So if I have some documents wherein I have some information about customers or some employee records or some HR data, some finance data or some product related information, I can create a different rules, and I can say that let's just scan this particular folder or this particular share. If you find that there are anything like these strings are there, encrypt the data. So what it will do, it will basically leverage what we have, that is your ADRMS bulk protection tool in the backend, and it will encrypt the data with the help of the PowerShell scripts. So you can create this particular environment script basis. So how it goes, we have complete this inbox end-to-end scenarios. That is your typical mails. You have integration with SharePoint, then extensible infrastructure partner ecosystem. So You can use it with your mails options. You can use it with your SharePoint. Let's say you work with the documents, you upload it, you store them on the SharePoint portal. And as I said that the infrastructure partner ecosystem, the same way that I talked to you about the Foxit, the security suite. Similar way you can work with the documents. It can be completely integrated with your partner solutions, and you can go ahead with it. So first we will discover the data, then we'll see the get classification properties API for external applications. If it is not internal application, extract the classification properties depending upon the properties or the rules you have created, like your business impact wise or data encryption wise or expiry wise or the date you created that wise. Then you classify the data. Now then you store the classification properties and apply the policies based upon the classification depending upon the encryption or moving the data to different locations. So now let me just share my desktop again, and we'll just see the next option, which is your file classification infrastructure demo. So once again, let me just share this particular computer, which is my domain controller. Now here you will see that this file classification infrastructure is basically available as a feature in your file services role. To install this particular role, you will have to go to file services. Now I have already installed this particular server role in your server manager. So when you actually load the file services, you will see that there are some role dependencies, like over here. I have not enabled the distributed file system. I have not enabled services for network NFS. So this is the role which is we talk about the file classification infrastructure. So if you want to add remove, I can select add role service. I can select it. I can click on next and select the storage option that I have. So to launch this, I'll go to administrative tools and I'll say file server resource manager. So this is over here. And in my file server resource manager, you will see I have this new option over here, which is my classification management. Now this is where I'm going to classify my new data. So what I'll be doing, I'll be using the classification properties first of all, depending upon my data. Now over here, what I have done, I have created the first property, which is for my business impact. So if I just edit my property, let me just create a new property and let me just create in the same way again. So I'll say that I'll have to create a business impact. Then this will cover the overall business impact. The following documents will be marked with high or low business impact. So here I'll be having a selection for prototype, whether it's a yes no type of value, whether it's a date, it's a number. I'll be saying it's an ordered list, so I'll be using, let's say, high. I'll insert it. I'll add medium. I'll say low. I'll say my business impact for IT. If I want, I can put some description. I'll say okay. So here I have created my one property. Similarly, I have created one property for my encryption. So I'll say data encrypted. So when this particular document was encrypted, that I can select. So I've selected the date time option over here. So I can say the same way. And I have to select an option that what I want. So simple date time property. It's like that. Now once you created, let's say, the property which is for your data, now we have to create a rules. So here I have created two rules that they will be depending upon your properties, obviously. So the first rule that I'm going to create is, let's say, the medium business impact. So I want to make it enable. So this rule will explain the documents which could be causing medium business impact if shared outside. And for the scope, I'll select the volumes and the folders to classify. So it will scan, it will drill down in that particular folder. So I'll be saying that use my user share. So on my this computer, I will have user share folder where I have the users who are creating their own data. So it's general file share for everybody. So that can be accessed for your main domain controller, that is your user share, which is a network share. So I'll say this particular user share. Now then I click on this classification option, and you will see that in the classification option I have something called as a classification mechanism. So here by default the option is folder classifier, the classifier module for setting properties on the file based on its folder path. So it's going to scan the folder path wise the complete documents. Or I can select the content classifier, which searches for a string and a regular expressions in a file using Windows text extraction mechanism. I'll be selecting as a folder classifier. Here I can select what type of property that I want to apply for this, or I want to classify this data into. I'll say I want to create this business impact for IT, and I want to create a medium business impact that we created. Now, if I click on OK, it's going to create a standard rule for classifying my data into that particular folder with this particular properties that I have defined. But let's say if I want to create, let's say, additional granular settings, such as, let's say I'll click on the classification, I'll click on advanced. Over here I'll say reevaluate my existing property values and aggregate the values. So I can override the existing values or I can aggregate it. And if I click on the additional classification parameters, I can add, let's take an example that if my documents has something like intellectual property, so it will mark it as, let's say, high, so high business impact. Or maybe we can create, let's say, additional policy for high business impact. So I'll say impact. So this will cause high business impact if disclosed. So I'm going to again give the same my file share where I'm having my data. I can select this. Let me also select my E drive, so I can have multiple locations. Here I'll say that my business impact for IT, and this time it's going to be high. And this time what I'll be doing, I'll be selecting it as a content classifier, not as a folder classifier. So obviously it is going to scan my folder, but this time I want to do it by content wise. So the content will be, I'll reevaluate my existing property values, and I'll say that if it has the string such as intellectual property, or I can use a regular expression just like this, or 3-digit number, I can use this. It's going to mark it as high business impact data. So here is, alright, this particular rule is already created, so let's mark it as low time. I think I've already created, so it's over here. That's the reason it is not allowing me. In this, I have already created one rule which says high business impact with the classification as high, and advanced. I've created this already string as intellectual property. So I'll say OK, and this will be over here. So this way, what I can do, I can create multiple types of documents. So if you just see over here, if you just click on the properties, you have different prototypes for numbers, date, time, multiple choice. Depending on, you can create true or false types of I'll say that, let's say, confidential data for validity, it's true or false. I can select this, just delete it, and I can create additional set of properties. Based upon that property, I can create these new rules for my classification schedule. Now, when I create this new property, this can be used with the rule, and if I want to scan my complete folder with this particular rule, or with this, or with the folder wise, or with the content wise, there comes some questions like, take an example, if I'm already working or my employees are working in the daylight. So if it is scanning, this particular server is scanning my users' data during my daytime, what will happen to their performance? The system will be busy if I add the multiple shares. If they are able to work, they might be interrupted during that particular indexing type or scanning type. So what we can do, we can have something called as a configure classification schedule. So you can actually create the classification schedule that when you want to do this, you can create the new schedule depending upon how you want. And once you do that, if you assign certain time, it will scan only during that time frame. So if you set up a classification during, let's say, from evening 6 o'clock to morning 6 a.m., 12 hours, it's going to start the particular scanning for the folders, the scopes that you've added, whether it could be the folder wise or it could be the content wise. It will start the particular scanning by 6 o'clock in the evening, and it will end it at 6 o'clock in the morning. No matter at what time, whether it's completed or not completed, it's not going to override that particular time frame. It will wait, and once again the next day, it will start the remaining process at 6 o'clock, depending upon how you schedule it. So that's one way you can schedule it. And if you want to run this particular rule real time, you can just click on run classification with all rules. So that is one example of how you can do that. Now this way you can create these properties and rules for your documents. Now other than that, if you want to create, let's say, the file management task, you can do that. So here what I have done, here we will talk about the complete integration part of how we can actually leverage the AD RMS and your FCI together for managing your environment. So before going to that part, let me just bring back to presentation, and this was the main demo of how we can use actually file classification infrastructure. And you can just click on it and just click on run classification. You will say run classification, wait for classification to complete execution. So this way I can run this particular rules directly from my file server resource manager. So there is some hard disk movement, so it is now actually scanning. And once this particular process is completed, you will be provided with a proper report that how many files you have, how many files, offline files, online files, you get complete office files. So you get this complete information based upon the impact. So if you see that I have some information over here which is being generated real time. So depending upon my files that I have, and once I'm done with my complete process, you get the report for your knowledge. So you can actually see that what type of data you have and how much files are remaining and so on and so forth. So that is about the file classification infrastructure demo. We'll just now move on to the next presentation. So meanwhile, let me just have another quick poll that do you like the FCI demo? Thank you all for the response. I hope you enjoyed this demo. Let me just move back to the next presentation, the next file. So the next up is better together part, that is your FCI and RMS, AD RMS bulk protection tool, how we can leverage them together. So here is how it works. Identify and protect sensitive documents on file servers. Complement manual RMS protection with automated server-side ID policies for complete ownership of security infrastructure and prevention of inadvertent data leakage. So here's how it works. First, the user creates a file, which is a document file on your Windows 2008 R2 file server. Secondly, the file classification infrastructure will classify the files depending upon the sensitivity, that the properties and the rules we have created. If it finds that if for certain employees, let's say for full-time employees, we want to provide the RMS protection to restrict, or if you just want to use that particular file only for the FTEs or the full-time employees, you can select that particular template which you have created. The next up is the full-time employees can access the documents, and the remaining employees or the malicious user is no longer able to access. So businesses can automatically RMS protect thousands of the confidential files on their file servers with the help of this one file classification infrastructure rule. So with this, let me just move on to the next demo quickly. For that, I'll share my desktop again. So this time what I'll be doing, I'll be switching back to my other demo machines. So over here. So I have one machine over here. Let me just log in on this particular machine as the administrator, and over here. So meanwhile this gets logged in, let me have a couple of questions from your end. We will again have a few questions at the end of this session. So let me just unshare my desktop again and get back to you all the presentation. Meanwhile my system gets boot up. Let's have a few questions. So feel free and go ahead with your questions on AD RMS. I'm almost logged onto my system so that we can continue with our demo. So if I just let me just share my desktop once again. I can continue with my presentation. So yeah, so no questions so far, so let me just continue with my presentations then. Yeah, so over here I have two machines. One is my Cairo machine, which is my client, Windows 7 client, and this is my Windows Server 2008 R2 domain controller. I have installed the same role over here. Now here, if you see that I have created few rules, that is the classification rule. Let me just try to change the resolution. Yeah, this is better. So let me. Alright, let me also share my other machine, which is my client. Yeah. So what I'll be doing first of all, I have a remote share. So the machine name is, this is my Denver machine domain controller, and I have this location. wgbwoodgrewbank.com is the domain over here, and I have a machines over here. I have a folder over here, and I have not copied any data. So what I will do, I have few documents on my C drive on this my client machine, which is my Cairo machine. I have logged in as Joey. So let me just copy these documents and paste it over here. And if I just try to open these documents over here, they're having some, I'll say, read-only timing. But yeah, they have got some customer information. It's not got any rights protected onto them. You will see it has got the credit card information directly, which is not good if you are accessing the data directly. So for that, we need to use the protection option. So what we'll be doing now, we'll be going back to our domain controller, and then we will configure our FCS particular role. So you will see that over here we have created the properties, that is business impact. Again, the high and low describes the business impact, and the data encrypted option, same as over there. If you see the rules over here, I have created 3 rules. 2 of the rules are one rule is for the keyword high business impact, one is by the regular expression, and one is by the low impact. Now this particular rule by the keyword and the regex are by the content classifier, and the last one is by the folder. And over here I have created the protect my high business impact document with ADRMS, which is my task that I've created. If I just click on it, you will see that. So what I will do now, first I'll just show you the computer. I'll go to and tools, and this is a script that I'll be using for my PowerShell environment. So again, I'll be using this particular script for making my encryption automated with the help of this particular policy. So it says that start process, file path, RMS bulk. Now in this way you will see that my path is different because I have installed this particular RMS bulk tool in that particular folder, not in program files. I can select an encrypt option and I can select the share, which is my Denver share, where I have this particular XML file, which is my RMS template installed, would group bank confidential read only, and the log file to be expanded. So how we do it? It seems the resolution is not good, so I'll just switch back to my original resolution. This is okay. So what I will do over here, first of all, I'll go to my classification rules. I have created 3 rules, which will be, if I just open any of the rules, it's the first rule, which is by keyword. This rule is created for C:: tools that would group bank documents. We have them over here. Next up, you see that I classify the documents with the high business impact based upon the string intellectual property. The classification says content classifier, the business impact high. And if I click on advanced, I have created the option as string intellectual property. Now the same way, if I just click over to this particular classification rule, then again it is by the regular expression, so I'll be using a regular expression in this. And I'll be, since I showed you that in this one particular document we have the credit card information directly shared, which is not good for your users, we will be using the regular expression for this particular format. So I'll go to my certification and advanced. Again, the reevaluate existing properties, and in my additional classification you will see that I have created the D, which is /D, \D is a regular expression for number, and number 4 is 4 times. So you will see the details over here. If you want to go online and find much more details, you'll be using the digits number. So 3-digit number, 4-digit number, you can add it by this way. And what I will do first, I'll run this particular rule. So I'll right click and say run classification with all rule manually. I'll say wait for classification to complete execution. So this way we are actually forcing our classification to run this particular rule. So it's going to scan this particular folder, tools folder, and it's going to drill down depending upon the content classifier or the folder wise to see what data it has got. And depending upon the particular string that it has got detect or regular expression, it's going to give us the complete report. And if you see that, if I just scroll down, I have different type of business impact created. If you see that for some documents it's low business impact, for some documents like my customer information where I have the credit card information, it has got the business impact high, and it has used this particular rule, which is high business impact using regular expression. So it has now detected this particular information. And for one document where it has got the cycle design, you will see that it has got a keyword as intellectual property. It has used this high business impact keyword as my rule. So now once we have done that, next option is using encryption, which is your ADRMS bulk protection tool for automatically using that particular encrypting that particular folder. So we will be using this particular option, that is your file management task, and I can create a new task and then provide this information. So I'll just show you the task that I have created. So we have given the name as HBI documents, high business impact with ADRMS. And if I just right click and say edit, you will see the details. So I've given this name as protect HBI documents with ADRMS. Apply the ADRMS template, would group bank confidential read only to this HBI document. The scope is again the same folder where I have all the documents. In the action item, I have selected the custom action and I've said that execute the PowerShell.exe file because we will be using the script. And in the arguments, I'm using the -file option, and this particular PS1 file that we just saw contains the actual execution of this RMS bulk utility. And I've also said that I'll be running this command on my local system. Next, if I go to condition, I have created different conditions like if you scan the file, if the business impact is equal to high, and then if the date encrypted is not existed, if you don't know the date, then just start using the RMS template on this particular file. I have also created the default schedule that from what day it should automatically run this particular task. So every time at the time we have created the schedule, it will launch this particular file management task on its own. So if there are any files which are changed or updated, which are not encrypted, it will take.
Please pardon the interruption. Your conference contains less than 3 participants at this time. If you would like to continue, press *1 now, or the conference will be terminated.
That it has been encrypted, and also the reporting option you have. So once you're done with all these options, just right click and say run the file management task now. I'll say that wait for the task to complete execution. So it will take some time to run actual command. So if you just see over here, it says that action run command, this particular PowerShell, and the particular PS1 file, which is located over here in this folder, which is tools file. So it will be taking a few seconds to finish this task. So before it gets completed, I will take few questions and then I'll again share my desktop. I have some different questions not related to topic, I think. Can we connect the remote PC by remote desktop? Yes, you can connect to remote desktop by using your remote desktop. Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008 R2 provides you the enhanced remote desktop facility with the RDP7 protocol, so you can share your local hardware resources with the remote machine if you want, like your hard drives and smart cards. Is there no tool in GUI for managing the RMS locking? So the AD RMS bulk utility is the only command line utility if you want to do the task manually. Other than that, you are actually using your graphical user interface. Okay, I'm just finished with this particular process. So first, I'll just complete the answer and then we'll continue. So when we actually, in my previous demonstration, I was showing you the AD RMS bulk utility. If you want to use this as a command line tool, as a separate tool, you can use it only if you want to do it manually. Other than that, if you just want to use the Active Directory Rights Management Services, it's complete GUI tool that you've seen, which is there in your server manager, and on your client end, you can just create them directly. So before going on, let me just complete this final demo, and then we can have few more question answers. Here it has now completed the process, and it has now given us the nice report that size by owner, and it has now given us the complete information that statistics for the file, these two particular files which has been encrypted with the help of this tool. So if we just go back to our client and let's say go back to our share, which is this share, let me just refresh it. You'll see the size has been changed, and if I open any document this time, you will see that it is now saying that adrms.woodgurubank.com. It is now rights protected automatically by this particular rule. So this time, in this particular example of FCI and FCI with ADRMS, I have not used any sort of command line tools. It's all graphically done using your GUI MMC, and you'll see that it's efficiently encrypted with the help of this Woodguru Bank confidential read-only rule. So this way you can protect your information with just the policies and rules. So you can create this particular policy, you can just create these rules, and if you want, you can actually configure the particular rules that you can schedule it. So once you schedule it, like over here, we already scheduled it. So at every day or every time you schedule it, it will start automatically applying this particular file management task for encryption. If it finds certain files with certain keywords or somewhat like what we have described over there, depending upon the rules, it's going to encrypt it on the fly. So that is my last demo of file classification infrastructure and AD/RMS better together. I'll take few more questions. Meanwhile, let me just go back to my presentation and let me just have some summary over here. So what we've seen today is the Microsoft's business related security, the information rights protection solution from Microsoft. We have seen the AD/RMS bulk protection tool, a command line utility for encrypting and decrypting your multiple documents depending upon the how much IRM protectors you have. By default, the out of the box IRM protectors by Microsoft gives you the ability to encrypt Windows Office 2003 and Office 2007 and Office 2010 documents. If you want to encrypt additional documents such as PDF and so far, then you require the specific IRM protectors. Then we've seen the file classification infrastructure and how can you create the properties, rules, and the file management tasks with the help of this particular management tool, which is available in your server manager. And lastly, we have seen how we can use the FCI and AD/RMS bulk protection tool or the rights management for efficiently using or securing your data real time with the help of the single sort of policy. So that's all from my end. Let me just share some resources. These are some resources from Microsoft that you can use for your reference. Again, thank you all for joining in this session. Feel free to provide a feedback, good, bad, or worse. Your feedback is always helping us, making us to provide you more and more demos and more such new features from the OS. I'll just share my blog address again. So let me just go back to my first presentation wherein I have my introduction. So here's my blog address, blogs.technet.com/Abhiraj. You can just send in your read it and provide a comment. I'll just share my email address as well for your reference. So I'll put a text box. So it's i-abhiraj@microsoft.com. So thank you all for joining in this session on AD/RMS and FCI better together. I hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did. I'll take few questions now and then we will close off this session. Okay, one question, is this tool part of 2008 or have to download separately? Now, AD Active Directory Rights Management Services is the proper role is already available in Windows Server 2008, but if you want, and 2008 R2, but if you want to let's say encrypt multiple documents or decrypt multiple documents, then you require these specific tools for bulk encryption or bulk decryption, which is not there out of the box. You need to download it from the Microsoft.com website. Yeah, sure. I'll just share this presentation again where I have provided all these links for more information. Apologies, I could not give much of the time onto that over here. So this particular link gives complete. I will share this particular links on my blog address on blogs.technet.com for your reference. So feel free to have some questions. I'm there for next 2-3 minutes. Well, once again, thank you very much for joining with me in this session. I hope you enjoyed it and you will join upcoming sessions on this Windows Server and IT infrastructure topics. Thank you.